Over the next 10 days, I'm doing a simple one tip a day video. Check back tomorrow for another. Today, I'm going to pretty much be giving you an opinion, but not just any old opinion, my opinion, and it's okay to disagree with it. My opinion is that cold pulls don't work. Now, if you're unsure what a cold pull is, the idea behind it is to yank the filament out of the hot end at a lower than operating temperature, and this cleans the nozzle. It's become some kind of internet mythological process that you're supposed to do if your nozzle gets blocked up. But I've owned 4 printers over, I'm not sure how many years, it's probably 3 at this point, but I don't keep track. But in all this time, all I've won from trying to cold pull is the grand prize of filament snapping in the nozzle and then a full disassembly of the hot end to clean up the mess. And let's not talk about flexible filaments. I mean, they might work with direct drive hot ends, but this is not then general advice in 2021 when I think we can safely say that the majority of printers are Bowden based. So what I do want to discuss, point out, state the obvious in this video is how to actually deal with a clogged nozzle, in my experience. The method to unclog a nozzle somewhat depends on how it was clogged in the first place. I find that most clogs are a transient event, caused by what appears to be filament just sitting around in the nozzle for too long, and then being uncooperative when you want to extrude them. This happens a lot if you have an error in the print, you stop the print, but you end up with the hot end still at temperature, because normally what happens is when you finish a print, the end G-code would retract the filament, but it doesn't do this if you stop halfway through a print. And so what happens is the filament stays in the nozzle for some amount of time at full temperature, and I guess it either burns in there or it forms a skin. This kind of blockage is pretty easy to fix actually, so there's no need to panic and no need to start poking around. If you just raise the temperature and send a long extrude command, say 20mm, either do this over the printer's panel or Octoprint or whatever you have to make that happen. The hotter temperature and the extra pressure almost always solves this problem, and then you can just carry on. Slightly more difficult is a blockage due to something that shouldn't be in there in the first place. You should always keep your filament in bags and clean when it's not in use because dust can build up, and believe it or not, this can cause a really gross kind of blockage. I don't have an example thankfully, and I'm not going to try and reproduce this, but if you imagine enough dust getting into the nozzle, yeah, it's not ideal. The solution in this case is to get yourself some of these things. They normally come with cheap nozzles, and my Ender 3 came with 2 of them in the box. It's just a case of doing what I said a moment ago by increasing the temperature and then increase the pressure on the nozzle while you poke around, and before you know it, you'll have everything just coming out, and then you can carry on printing. Be aware that there's 2 sizes of these needles, and one of the sizes doesn't actually fit in a 0.4mm nozzle. I don't know if they're colour-coded, but the silver ones do fit. The third and most difficult to solve problem is actually an installation problem. When changing your nozzle, you should do this hot, meaning heat up the hot end to 200 degrees C, at least when it comes to taking the old one out. The contentious part of this topic is about putting the new nozzle in. I am a fan of doing that when the hot end is still hot, mainly out of lack of patience. I don't want to sit around waiting for it to cool down, but I've never come across this issue myself that I'm about to mention, so perhaps that's why. The issue is, allegedly, due to a gap between here, the top of the nozzle, and here, the base of the PTFE tube that's pre-installed into the tube where it meets the nozzle. If you have an all-metal hot end, then you don't have this, but you're also likely to have this problem anyway, unfortunately. What happens is called heat creep, where, for reasons beyond the scope of this video, filament that's semi-molten is allowed to fill any of these gaps, and then it clogs up too high up to be able to melt again to clear out. But don't panic, I mean, I personally have never experienced this at all, ever. Not even with some of the really crazy things I do on this channel. That's the problem with the internet. It is hard to know how common a problem is from the number of people who talk about having it. If you're having a lot of problems with heat creep, then I'm not really sure what to suggest, other than I guess it might be a hardware fault causing it, or perhaps it's the way that you're fitting the nozzle, or perhaps it's an error in the machining of the nozzle. So there you have it, nozzle clogs, almost always simple to solve. If you have an opinion that doesn't match mine, then we can argue in the comments, discuss. Otherwise, thank you for watching.